You were an American Gladiator and then you're a Ninja Warrior, and you said you're capable of jumping off the boat and then quickly getting back up?
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably do a couple flips on the way down too. You know, just for style.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We are still here in the barn in beautiful Pittsfield, Vermont. And as always, to my left is Sephra, Johnny, and Joe. And over on my right is Marion, the producer, puts this all together. I, of course, am Colonel Tim Nye. And today we're going to talk about Evan Dollard, who is an American ninja. American Ninja Warrior, and used to be a gladiator guy, one of those guys, a real-life gladiator. So Joe, what do you think?
What do I think? I think we should watch a damn show. What do you think?
Yeah. Let's go to it. Let's see what Evan has to say.
Ninja.
We are here for Spartan Up Podcast on a cruise ship with Evan Dollard, the famous gladiator.
Yeah, you can call me a famous gladiator.
But you were an actual gladiator, or you were the host of the show?
I was a contestant first season. So they did 2 seasons of a reboot with Hulk Hogan and Layla Ali. Yeah. And I was a contestant first season 1, and they made me the Gladiator Rocket for second season.
Nice. How was it?
It was fun. It was fun to be on both sides of it, you know? Because as a contestant, there's a certain amount of adrenaline that comes with these giant dudes chasing after you, racing up a rock wall, going down the gauntlet. And then to be on the other side of it and be the one chasing after the athletes was a lot of fun, too.
How do you go from one part of life, regular civilian life, and land a TV show like that? Like, is it a lot of work?
It was interesting because I minored in acting, you know, and I was living in Chicago at the time that I got American Gladiators, just doing retail management so that I could be free to take auditions for television and film. And when this came up, it wasn't through my agent, it was just living out a childhood dream. My roommate found it on the website, on NBC's website. They said, hey, do you want to try this thing? I said, obviously. Watched the original growing up. Let's give this a shot. So I waited 6 hours in line, went through 3 rounds of callbacks, I think, and then eventually found myself in LA for final callbacks. And Dan Clark, Nitro, he was teaching me how to joust. And it was just kind of this wild thing. You know, Hulk Hogan walks in and he's like wishing us best of luck. And it was this rad experience. So I was prepared for that opportunity. You know, like I really was chasing after this dream. And when the opportunity presented itself, I took it.
So some people say you can make your own luck in life. Is that kind of what you did? You set everything up so that when the opportunity popped up?
Yeah. I mean, and that's what I'm trying to do now. Because there's only what I really want to say. I could not have prepared for American Gladiators. You know, there was so many other decision makers in that process. You know, some production company pitched it to NBC. NBC had to say yes. You know, they had to bring everything on.
A lot of things could have went wrong.
Exactly.
Way, right?
So, but I was healthy. I've been working out. I was auditioning. I was already free and available for an opportunity should it arise. So when that one did, and I got selected, I just went for it.
You move fast.
Yeah, and that's what I try to do with other aspects of my life now. Set everything up, put all the time, attention, and effort towards those things, and then I find that even if those things don't pick up, something else does, because now people are paying attention to you. They're hearing about you. They know what you're passionate about. They know where you're putting in the time and the effort, and then they know that you're hard work and they want you to be a part of whatever they're doing.
So is that kind of like swimming in the right barrel? In other words, this is the area I want to play in, and I'm going to become really well versed in that area. I'm going to know everybody. I'm going to be prepared for when the opportunity comes.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. And similar to American Ninja Warrior, I got on that show. I just sent them a bunch of footage of me doing American Gladiators because I thought, that's a good story, that's a good sell. And once I got on the show, you meet the producers, you meet the story producers and all that, and you develop a rapport with them. And then as soon as an opportunity presents itself to say, hey, what I'm really interested in doing is more on-camera stuff. I want to be host and all that. So seasons 2, 3, and 4, I competed. And then season 5, they said, we're doing a web series. It's called Well-Trained Warrior. We want you to host it. And like you said, swimming in that barrel. Like I made the connections.
You're in
I was
the right
working
place.
hard in that area.
Right.
And I didn't know that they were going to do that web series, but sure enough, here it is, and I'm ready for it.
You laid all the groundwork.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people are indecisive, I find. I don't know if you find that, where they just can't pull the trigger. And it sounds like you were ready to go for when decision time came, and you pulled the trigger fast, right? Because you could snooze and lose it.
Right.
Right? I don't know. I've got other work that day. I've got other commitments.
And that's it's tough, especially in the industry that I want to be a part of. You know, with anything on camera, acting, hosting, writing, whatever it might be, it's tough. I was having a conversation with my friend recently, and he said, "I admire you because it's such a gamble. I would never take that gamble with my life." He does great work. He's a student. He's a teacher, a middle school math teacher. Has these exercise classes that he teaches. He does OCR as well. He's a great guy, but he never would want to be outside of that in such a way that it would risk his livelihood, which I get. I've had a lot of downs, you know.
Sure.
There's definitely valleys and high points, you know, mountaintops, the valleys.
That come with those risks, you mean?
Of course,
Right,
yeah.
Right. It's not going to be smooth sailing.
Right.
You're gonna hit some bumps.
Yeah.
As opposed to taking the nice, safe middle school job.
Right. Which is
Right.
also what my brother does. Love him
Yeah.
to death. He's making a difference. Really appreciate and respect everything that he's about. He's got a 1-year-old, my nephew, his wife, a house. It's great. I don't have any of those things right now.
Right.
But I have this certain idea, this vision for my life of something a little bit that maybe reaches outside of that, you know, micro system of his middle school and the community in which he lives in.
Not
There's
you
something
don't want
wrong.
to say mediocrity because a lot of people live in that zone, but they're not out over their skis.
Right.
You want to live out over your skis, and that might mean crashing.
Yes, it has.
Right.
It has. But there's so many things that I'm laying the groundwork for right now, which could turn into something pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And I'm stoked to continue to do that. And I know it's hard work, and I know there's going to be more hazards, more crashes, more burns.
Why didn't you set up shop in LA? I mean, that's where everything happens in the TV and movie business, doesn't it?
Well, I'm in LA finally now, but it took me a while to get there. And it was a comfort zone thing, you know. Like I have family in Chicago,
Right.
A lot of friends, the community, the city itself, a lot of culture there, a lot of memories for me.
Right.
And so it's tough, even now that I'm finally in LA. It's a different city altogether. It's a whole other animal, you know. It's fast paced. You have to be careful who you're friends with. Everybody seems to have an agenda.
But they say you want to play pro, right?
Yeah.
You're playing pro now.
Playing pro now. It's
Right.
different. It's so different.
Do you think it'll increase the odds you get something big being there?
I think so, 100%, because that's where the action is.
Yeah.
You know, I got to a point in Chicago where, you know, there's really 3 casting agencies in Chicago. They all knew who I was. They knew where to find me. And if something came out, they'd give me a call. But now in LA, it's so much bigger. There are casting agencies that I would say 80% have never even heard of me. So I have this circle of people within the reality sphere, you know, Ninja Warrior, Gladiators who I've met and interact with. And now I'm just trying to network more, branch out so that people are familiar with what I am and what I can bring to the table.
So that when something pops up, they know who to call.
Exactly.
So that means lots of networking.
It means lots of networking and lots of content creation, to be honest. You know, people are looking for, from what I can tell, especially with the popularity of social media, right? People who have existing built-in followings on Instagram, on YouTube.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Does it make the odds more likely that you're going to succeed if you have a massive following?
It certainly turns people's eyes to you. So it doesn't necessarily guarantee you anything. Acting especially, not necessarily right now, but hosting opportunities, yes, I would say. Reality shows, yes. I don't necessarily want to go into a scripted reality version of my life that doesn't interest me.
Sure. Sure.
But they like that you can blast out their brand to 200,000 followers and people will respond to that because they trust you.
Sure.
It's the new PR.
All right, well, let's take a break. Why don't you and I do lunges? We'll do like 300-400 lunges, and then we'll pick it up.
Okay.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
I hope you're not sitting still while you listen. If you are, you better get a burpee break in.
$299.
Yep. And
300. That was good. Good work.
Not bad.
So while we were doing the lunges, I was thinking, there's a chance 10 years from now you don't. I mean, I'm sure there's thousands, if not tens of thousands, of actors and actresses or wannabe actors and actresses that don't get the part ever.
Right?
Do you look back and say, man, I wasted 10, 15, 20 years. I should have did something different. I should have became the school teacher.
I don't think that I will, for a couple reasons. One, I have this theory, right? People talk about this a bucket list, these lists of things that you want to do before you die. I have this list of things that I want to accomplish before I die. You know, it's slightly different. So I don't want to get to the end of my life and say, if only I had done this, or what if. I'm trying to eliminate all the if onlys and what ifs from my life, so that when I get to the end of it, I can look back and say, you know what? I didn't wonder. You know, I wasn't sitting at a desk in middle school in rural Minneapolis or like suburbs and say, well, I could have, but I didn't, because I was too scared, or it was too hard, it was too much of a gamble, whatever it might have been. You know, I even look back at a relationship of mine that didn't work out, and I put all the cards on the table. I mean, all the cards on the table.
With a woman or a pet?
With a woman.
Oh.
Yeah, with a woman. You know, I believe something about that relationship, and I'd never met anyone else like her, and I chased hard after her.
Yeah.
And ultimately it didn't work out. You know, she didn't feel the same way.
Right.
But I can't kick myself, you know, for not trying, because I know I put it all out there.
Right.
You know, and it's the same thing for this career move. I'm going to put it all out there. If it doesn't work out, there's no regrets, you know, because I believed it, I chased after it, and ultimately I'll land on my feet. You know, people always do.
Yeah. I feel like as long as you're moving forward, stuff tends to happen.
Yeah.
Right? Like I felt like all the people I've watched not make it in life, it's because they've been waiting for that one opportunity and not done anything. They've been frozen.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that. I don't really like that. That's not what I was planning. I'm not trained for it. As opposed to just do something. And something leads to something else, right? Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Right.
Even talking to the same friend not too long ago, I use the simple example you find in nature, right? Like you find a pond or a swamp, like something that's stagnant, that doesn't have any movement to it. You don't want to go drink from that.
Love that analogy.
Yeah, you want to find a rushing river,
Right.
something that has some movement, some life to it. That's
Right.
where you want to get your water from. And that's what I want my life to be.
And that's a good point. I mean, people probably are attracted to that kind of person, right? That's moving and shaking and getting stuff done.
Yeah.
You don't want to be hanging around stagnant water.
No, you don't. You don't want to like sit in a raft
There's
and like just hang
mosquitoes.
out.
Yeah.
You want to be cruising through the canyon, you know, going through
Yeah.
the rapids a little bit.
I like that.
Yeah.
I want to find some rivers to hang out with.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah. So what other tips would you give people out there sitting on the couch trying to get motivated? I have people saying, Joe, I hang the Spartan medal in my bedroom, and that's what gets me up in the morning.
Wow.
One, that makes us happy. But two, it's a little scary because I say, gee, if they didn't have that medal, they wouldn't wake up. Like that's
Right.
a problem, right? Let's give them a couple other things to wake up for.
Yeah.
Or tips, or what would you suggest?
That's true. There seems to be a bit of a disconnect, or something gets lost in translation, you know, which I don't think is a bad thing. You need to have that catalyst. You need to have something outside of yourself that ignites this thing. But once that ignition happens, it's your responsibility to carry it forward. Like, you need to create your own momentum. And there's always going to be, like I said, those moments where you crash a little bit and you need another catalyst, you need another friendship or relationship to pull you back up, to rip you back up from the ground and like push you forward on the trajectory you need to be on.
Sure.
But I'm always about taking one step. You talk about movement, taking one step forward towards the better version of yourself. Because as soon as you stop growing, like what's the point? I don't want to be the same person.
Right.
If we have an interview a year from now or 5 years from now, I don't want to be talking necessarily about the same things.
Right.
We should both be different. We should both have learned so much and be applied into our daily lives that we're having a totally different conversation.
I interviewed a wrestler who was in the Olympics, amazing guy. 5 brothers wrestled at that level, all came from a giant family. And he said, you should never go through anything, you should grow through everything, right? And so that's what you're
cool.
saying, right?
Yeah.
Grow every day.
Yeah.
But to do that, you got to get out of your comfort zone.
You do.
And that's the scary part. You don't want to leave Chicago,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
You were hanging on.
I was. It was safe.
Somebody was banging on your hands. Get the hell out of here.
It's tough. And I think for me, it starts with taking stock of your life, like an honest look at your life and where you're at. I had an opportunity to talk to a woman at the LA Fit Expo a couple weeks ago, and she was telling me how she wanted some tips on how to train for Ninja Warrior. And we talked a little bit. She said, I lost 90 pounds this last year. And I said, how did you do that? Or what got you on that path? And she said, I looked at a photo of me standing next to my son, and he was overweight and I was overweight. I saw not just what I was doing to myself, but what I was doing to him, yeah. I thought, that's powerful.
Yeah.
And that was her, eye-opening moment. That was her catalyst. And she took that and she ran with it. Lost 90 pounds. She's training for OCR, training for Ninja Warrior. Like, she's doing it now.
I love it.
Yeah. It was pretty incredible.
Powerful what you could do once you get healthy, right? You start eating well, you start working out, you find new friends, go to bed early, stop drinking.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And that's always been the biggest takeaway from my dad being so integrated in my life early on and getting me introduced to fitness. And it wasn't even fitness. He was my t-ball coach. And then he's like, try soccer and, baseball and basketball and all of it. He just encouraged me to be active, and I incorporated that into my life. But the discipline that comes with training for, being on the sports team, you have these discipline practices. You have to do this, you have to eat that, you have to be at this place at this time.
Commitment.
It's a commitment. And you need to make a commitment to yourself outside of those things that are fitness related. So it's a good it's good groundwork. But fitness to me is always a metaphor for something greater.
No, I agree. But you want to be, as you said earlier, in peak performance mode for when the opportunity shows up.
Right.
Right? I had the Cornell wrestling coach has had an enormous amount of wins, over 250 wins. How do you do it? He said, it's really simple. We don't put our kids in a fraternity. We don't let them get their own apartments. They will live in a house that we monitor. We watch their food. We don't, Friday night we bowl. Saturday night we go to the movies. They don't get to go out and do other things that'll get them in trouble. And so it's amazing how little you really have to do to stand out above everybody else.
Yeah.
You and myself and maybe 5 others are running around this deck here. Most of the people right now have drinks this size by the pool.
Right.
Right? They're probably not, they're going to miss the opportunity when it comes up.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah, well, that's another. It's because it's comfortable.
Yeah.
And there's obviously a time and place for it. But
there's never a time and place for a drink that size. Ever.
Yeah. A man and woman, a human needs to know their limits.
Yeah.
If the margarita is as big as your head, you're doing something
You're doing
wrong.
something wrong.
I agree.
Let's end on that. That was good. Good stuff.
All right, so we watched that interview, Joe. You did a great job as always, but pretty interesting young man. I mean, he both did Gladiator and American Ninja, and he was a competitor a couple times, and then became an announcer.
Still super fit.
Oh yeah, he's fit, but he's much more than fit. There's a brain with the body, and what he talked about is the preparation and putting himself in position to take advantage of an opportunity. So he talked about placing himself in that position and doing all the prep and all the work, not only going to the gym, but modeling agency or putting himself in line or going out for the tryouts and doing all those things, and then moving from Chicago out to LA to line yourself up to be in the position that when the opportunity presents itself, you're able to take advantage of it.
It's like preparing your field and getting everything ready for when the temperatures and the rainfall and everything is ready to go. You've got the seeds, you've got the soil set, and you just pounce on that opportunity.
I'm just so proud. I'm speechless.
Blessings.
You've been beautified.
So
let's talk about Evan
back to
Dollar.
Evan for a sec.
Favorite
Yeah.
episode
So
ever,
I was fortunate enough on the Spartan Cruise to see Evan speak when he got up on the stage.
Yep.
What I thought was really, really cool about that. So here's Evan. Evan knows he's American Ninja Warrior, but he didn't just get up and talk about American Ninja Warrior. He got up and he talked about very, very candidly, and I would even say, what's the word I'm looking for? He was kind of vulnerable. He got up there and he said, hey, here's where I am. Yes, you guys know me as this guy. Who I really want to be is an action movie hero, and I'm nowhere close to that yet. I'm going out to LA. I'm trying to do this, and he was really, he could tell he was like nervous up there because he's talking about this huge dream. What I thought was really, really cool about that is he wasn't riding on his laurels and being superstar that everyone already knows. He was like, guys, here's what I want to do, and he kind of let us in on the ground floor of, I don't know if it's going to work out or not, but he talked about doing all the right things and getting the right coaching and putting himself out in the right position. And I find it really endearing, but also inspiring to see.
Well,
a guy
he committed,
yeah,
and then he went public with that commitment.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Now he's on.
They say he threw his hat over the fence, right? Now he's got to go get it.
In Canada, maybe they say that.
His toque. He threw his toque over the fence.
I think it's awesome. Even my little brother, who I don't get to get out in the woods as much, so he watches American Ninja Warrior and he watches these things. And we had an interview. Where there was a guy who did a lot of gaming, and this is kind of a good bridge for these kiddos because it's something they can relate to. It's almost like real gaming, right? And it's the same sort of thing now that Spartan's on TV too. And then even though we're saying get off the couch, sometimes people need this as like their gateway to this world. And I think they're great role models for the kids, and I love it. I think it's great.
I think it's pretty closely aligned with what you're trying to do. A lot of the same skills, climbing over the obstacles.
Well, they're getting a ton of Spartans that go on the Ninja Warrior show.
Oh, yeah.
I think.
Well, that's what I'm
We
saying.
have
I would
3 on
think
this current season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think they're very closely aligned.
Yeah.
I would think
The big question is, do you stop your life and attempt something big? And we talk about this all the time, and try to be in Hollywood and potentially blow 5 or 10 years and find out it didn't work.
Well, so but here's the thing. That's a great question, because what is stopping your life? Like, is it quitting the job that you don't love to go try something that you do love, and if you fail, you go back to the job you didn't love? How's that wasting 5 or 10 years, right? So if what he wants to do is be an action movie star, and he goes and he spends 5-10 years pursuing being an action movie star, there's no way to lose. If he gets there and he wins and that's who he is, then fantastic. And the only way he's going to get there is by committing. If he don't play. And if he doesn't, if he goes and he spends 5 years working, acting, taking whatever roles he can, and the worst that has to happen is he goes back to what he was doing before, I don't see any risk there.
Or he gets involved in stunt work because of his physicality, and he becomes a stunt guy, and 20 years from now he's running a company, but a union of stunt walkers. You don't know where things are going.
And I'll tell you, having met him on the cruise and watched him on the stage, and I really think he's going to succeed one way or another because he's a likable guy. He's a guy who's willing to put himself out there, and it's not about him. He's not trying to be better than anyone else. So I'm really confident we're going to see him, whether it's as the next Sylvester Stallone or as if it's the next host of a reality show.
Captain America, I'm saying.
Oh no, there's the other guy.
I can see that. I can see him in the sequel as Captain America. But I'm really confident, just based on who he is and the energy he puts into the world. And obviously he's had success, right? He's had success on something that people don't have success on.
To get on, to be a gladiator, on American Gladiator, I mean, how many people did he beat out?
Yeah, lots.
I imagine there were a lot of big, fit, tough-looking guys and gals that wanted to do that. You had the Biggest Loser trainer, the female. She was a gladiator.
Yeah. Forget her name.
Yes, I'm blanking on her name, but so you've got to go through all that process, and then he finds himself on the show as a competitor, and then becomes an announcer.
Yeah.
So he had to have done something to stand out when they were talking to him. There's more there than just a competitor. So I agree with you. I mean, you've got those things. He'll continue to build, and we'll be seeing him, reading about him, or watching him for years to come.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said, though, because you said, like, what if you waste 5 or 10 years? I think that's all a matter of perspective and just doing like a paradigm shift. I mean, oftentimes we talk about Levinson Wood when he's walking through. He's like, he's bored, but bored's a word that I don't use, but it's a word that he uses. And even through times where it might not be like you're winning success, you're still learning. And it's that adversity, right? And that discomfort that we often say you need to grow and get stronger and be better. So I think his stepping stones, if that's what he's doing, irregardless if it would be defined as success or not, he's learning, growing, getting stronger.
My team here has been trained well. I like it.
We have grabbed the pebble.
We've also been trained how to exit an interview. And we're going to go back into the internet where we live when you're not here. And so if you ever want to find us, which I hope you do, please come visit us at Spartan Up Podcast.
Oh, we're almost about
Spartan Up Podcast, and that's where you'll find us, and Evan Dollard and all kinds of other really cool people.
For show notes, video, and audio of this episode, visit SpartanUpPodcast.com/058 or follow us on Twitter at SpartanUpPod. The Spartan Up Podcast is brought to you by Spartan.
To find a race near you, visit Spartan.com.